Great learning fun.
Good. We had a blast. We had some fun.
Yep. Jaden, Carly, any words from either of you before we bestow tchotchkes?
Just thank you guys.
Thank you.
We would love to gather a photo. If we can meet you over here. Board, would you grab a tchotchke or two and pass that out? Miss Bonnie, would you mind doing the honors? Emergency call.
Good seeing you. Like I said, you're just part of the family.
Oh, the yay.
Scooch in.
Right, yes.
Sorry.
Oh,
A little bit.
Get closer.
I think you're good. You guys ready? Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. I'm going to take a couple up here. Make sure his eyes are open. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone absent? Anyone absent from your group?
Yes.
Probably,
I have
but
an
you can catch you.
April.
Sure.
Sorry.
All right, I think we're good. Y'all are welcome to stay, or you don't want to walk
That's good. Thanks, Joanne.
Did we win?
We have played, tomorrow we will have played 9 games in 11 days. And we've won, of the 8 we've played, we've won 6. We're kind of on a roll right now. Playing well. So, yeah.
Well, good job.
Kids doing the work that makes it easy.
We know.
Enjoy. Have a good night.
But we're still being recorded, and I want to recognize about lots more to share.
Lots more shit.
Community. Let's turn off the, yes. I'll let Joanne, she's going to need help. Yes.
I want to hear.
I got her. All right, so we have additional board recognition to share tonight. So I will turn it over to the board.
I will kick it off with a shout out to the Ording High School. They facilitated 2 excellent field trips that help students connect classroom learning with real world opportunities. Speaks right to me. First, students visited Belmont Cabinet Company in Sumner, where they learned about career paths in manufacturing and saw how their coursework at Ording High School aligns with the industry needs. Secondly, a group of students took a tour of the University of Washington Tacoma campus, and students not only explored the campus but also engaged with representatives from other Washington colleges, gaining valuable insight to their post-secondary options. I want to say a big thank you to the educators that took them out on that and for supporting these hands-on learning experiences.
Yeah, I would just add, I had an opportunity to learn quite a bit about Belmont at the Project Grad auction, and they have fantastic just belief in students and helping them get on their feet in the trades. So just shout out to Belmont for being a cool partner. Yeah.
I want to say a shout out. I want to recognize students that proudly represented Ording in the annual Daffodil Parade. I also walked in all 4, so that was awesome. The tradition is a wonderful opportunity for the students to showcase their school spirit and community pride. Thank you to everyone that had helped organize, prepare, and perform. It was a joy to see the students shine.
And one more thing to add on that, I just want to shout out to the students who volunteered to help with the Ording Daffodil Float, and to Carly, who coordinated our princesses, and we were able to win an award, and part of that was because of their dance moves and the animation that they had on the float, so, yeah, it was a really good, definitely something definitely that we want to keep here going.
Love it.
I would just like to give a shout out to the librarians that we have in our district. I mean, it's so much more than just checking out a book now. It's like the media specialists, they do read, I know at PTR, they read, they teach reading strategies when the kids are in there, and it just makes a big difference. The kids love going in now, they love to be part of that. So there's a lot of different hats that they have to wear now, so I thank them for all that they do with all the students, because every grade level there's something new to learn and to do. So.
Good?
Yeah.
Your
I'm just almost It's vague. Thank you.
I would just like to add that I want to recognize the creativity and the enthusiasm for our Get Outside OSD initiative. I love the pictures that are being posted. We received many submissions showcasing outdoor adventures, and one standout came from 10th grade student Miles, who explored the Tidelands with friends and even foraged for nettles. I'm curious to know what he was doing with those. Tea?
Nettle tea.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who has participated so far, and we are excited to grow this initiative. So community, if you're watching this, please continue to send in your pictures and tag Get Outside OSD. Perfect. Good. Anything else, Corey? Good? Okay. Well, I don't believe we've got any community or staff comments tonight. We do not. So I will turn it over to Superintendent Hatzenbuehler.
Good evening, board. Happy to share some sound bites from the last month since we've been together. We broke the internet a few times this spring. One was Cliff Reese elevating to central office. People were really happy and wishing him well. Another was hiring his replacement, Matt Carlson. That got a lot of buzz. And the third thing that got some buzz this spring was 4 double portables showing up in our parking lot over spring break. I think I stopped counting after 100 comments, but I'm pretty sure we were close to 2. As you recall, we've been talking about this for a year or more. We put this in our October newsletter to advise the local community. That goes to every resident. And we send monthly reminders after the holidays, February, March, and then again during spring break. But nothing prepares you quite like seeing the preparation of growth. So we did put a letter to our parents and guardians shortly thereafter, just reminding them what happened to the parking plan and what the future plans are, things like that. Our intention is to really have those housed and ready to go for the start of school. If you recall the portables that came last July, we didn't really get the ability to move in until close to Christmas. And the classes that were slated to be there, the intervention and support classes, had to be in the hallway for the first 5 months. And one thing I know, you can't put 8 classrooms of high school students in your halls for the first 5-6 months of the year. So we need to get early jump so we can be ready to go for the fall. The other piece that we're just trying to be reminding our local community of is we're expecting 1,500 homes to hit our district between calendar years 2025 and 2026. And we don't really know how many students that will bring, maybe up to 300 on the high side. So we need to make sure we have elementary and high school capacity. This move adds a couple classrooms to the high school and 6 classrooms at Orting Elementary School. The Bond Task Force is going in full force. You get to meet with them next Thursday. Since we last met, we took a tour of Orting Elementary and Orting High School. And I want you to hear some of the comments after walking and talking with our high school students, elementary students, and our staff at both schools. These are just a few, it's about a page and a half worth of notes. One person said, how can we rate the facilities fair? Many things are not to current code. If you recall that asset preservation and the yearly work we do, we have to rate things from poor to fair to good, very good. They thought fair was too generous based on the condition that they saw. Another person remarked that our dryer venting is outside, actually in our hallways, and said that's not okay. They noticed that at the high school. If you remember when that was built, that used to be outside. And when we grew, we enclosed that, so that's something they picked up on. Another person said the facilities at both schools are actually worse than she expected. Another person said the facility condition and distance are creating a loss of learning. They remarked and picked up on that 7 minutes of passing, and at the point we were sitting there as a task force, they were looking outside, and it was dumping. And they got to see what our students face every day when the weather is poor. They're outside, they're not safe, they're not inside and protected. And so they picked up on the long passing times and also how spread out our high school students are. They said there's no room to eat inside. So lots of comments. They're coming to you next Thursday, just reminding to you and our public, they have reviewed your facility capacity condition. They've discussed with staff and our students some of our current challenges. They've looked at your future enrollment growth through 2035. They've analyzed the previous bond attempts. We've sent data by precinct of what's happened. All 4, we've talked about our tax rates and what's been on the different project list. We also looked at assessed valuation and what current project cost estimates are. We moved from small groups to whole group to get a sense of where the consensus priorities are. And next Thursday, you'll get to break bread together at noon. We've invited them in for lunch. At 12:30, you'll have the next hour to talk about what are emerging priorities. What do you think you should do and why? And I did send you the recent election results today from this week. Just to speak to that a little bit, 3 capital facilities were on the ballot. None are currently passing. There are 7 educational program and operation levies. 2 of the 7 are currently passing. And there were 5 bonds on the ballot. 2 are currently passing. Puyallup, that was above 60% in the February election, but they didn't validate. They dropped 5 or 6 percentage points, and so they're below 60% and also not on track to validate currently. So what we've seen is the market is kind of concerned about tax rates, and rightfully so. So you'll have a lot to think about and consider next week during that meeting. We do want to give a shout out and a thank you to Central Pierce Fire and Rescue. They received, I believe it was $250,000 from federal grant money. And we were able to access free carbon monoxide alarms and batteries for our central office, our schools, all of our office spaces. So our facilities team has been busy installing those. So we're able to cover the entirety of the district, and we have a promise for ongoing battery support as well. They have a pretty decent supply, so we'll make sure we can keep those up to date for a long time. We do appreciate also our emergency responders. There's some of the same crew out there. Arrive Alive, that's an event we host every year before prom. They actually go through a reenactment. They show some damaged vehicles and what would it actually look like to extract an occupant from a vehicle. And I'm happy to say all of our students, juniors and seniors, not only arrived alive to prom, but made it home safely. We just love to get that visibility and awareness out there and say thank you to those emergency responders for everything they do. Happy to say we were signers, contributory signers with 13 other districts in Pierce County with the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. That was an honor with the tribe. They really have deep appreciation. The history in education is not a positive or a strong one for many of their members, including some of their elders who have either experience with boarding schools or parents that did. And so to have schools where students can be who they are, to have their hair long, to wear cedar caps or regalia at graduation, that able to speak their language without punitive punishment and that sort of thing means a lot. So they were very excited. We hosted a ceremony where all the superintendents or designees from each of the districts signed, and we were greeted with not only elders but Puyallup Council tribal members, which was really cool. So we're able to do that. And I'm also happy to say Bonnie and I scored 2 jars of huckleberry jam, and it was delicious. So I'm pretty happy about that. Chamber of Commerce, Tanner, Abby, Carly, Emily, Hayden. I don't know, board, if you're interested in recognizing them publicly, we could certainly. But donating their time to the Chamber of Commerce was really appreciated, and we had a lot of boarding representation in the parade. So huge celebration to the staff and kids that participated and the community that came out to celebrate them. It was a packed house. Happy to say my time as WASA 111 president is wrapping up. We have 2 more meetings. One is tomorrow, and we're hosting it right here in the Orting School District. Author, researcher, Dr. Paul Bloomberg will be with us in person. He had so much fun last time. On his own dime, he decided to fly back up to Orting and offered a 2-hour extended session for all WASA members free of charge. And so we'll have a lot of superintendents or regional leaders right here in our office here this morning, or tomorrow morning, and we'll be here bright and early at 6:30. You have a copy of the book, Amplified Learner Voice. You will have an hour yourself, up to an hour, 45 minutes, however long you want, next Thursday with Dr. Bloomberg. He literally wrote, not the book, but a book on learner agency. He actually wrote 2 of them. So it might be an opportunity just to rub elbows and say, all right, what are you liking? What's really working? What are you wanting to celebrate? What do you want to see more of? And then we're also using a lot of his impact team work and are thinking about how to really elevate our systems to ensure that every child is benefiting from a learning outcome. So he'll be with us across the region tomorrow morning, and we'll see him again next Thursday. We'll have a chance to have some conversation with him. Where are they now? This was kind of fun. Wazoo and University of Washington went head-to-head last week with lacrosse, and 2 former grads. Logan Hall was part of our state championship team. He's number 10, Luke Freeze number 16. We went up to UW to go cheer on the Cougs as they battled the Dogs. Unfortunately, Dogs came out on top, but the students left from there. They were headed up to British Columbia right after. So they're still out being active, which was a lot of fun to cheer them on. And you might remember Nadine Brandt, or Dean, as they went by. So Dean was there cheering on Logan and Luke, which was pretty cool. She's got a few more tattoos since you've seen her last month. But she's doing really well, and her studies are going strong. Thanks for the shout out for our certificated staff. Brittany's cooking up some ways to really elevate stories and recognition. She reached out to the community to see who might have an interest in honoring certain folks. So she's been busy gathering photos and whatnot. You'll see those unfold starting on May 5th. A reminder to you, any of you that would like to come out, May 30th is our all-staff barbecue appreciation. And we just love that visual representation where we're not picking and choosing who gets honoring, but everybody comes together, including our central office staff, our non-reps. And we'll have some delicious chicken and ribs if you're so interested.
We'll have some blue gloves there for you.
Yeah, we will have some gloves ready for you to help. I told you this, but I didn't lift it publicly. We are very happy that the School Director Association selected your very own Orting Middle School Choir to do 2 songs this November. I know you're going to discuss this next week to see who might be attending. This year it's in Seattle, November 20th through 22nd. I don't know the exact date, but because they've been asked to do the national anthem, it probably is the 20th, but I'll get clarity as we get closer. But we'll be happy to host our middle school choir at WASDA. And I don't know their second song, but I think they're going to try to tie it in with whatever the theme is. Last year was Perspective. I'm not sure what the theme is. Really improving learning outcomes. Here's a shot of your middle school math team working with a facilitator trainer that's not only integrating that building thinking classrooms that you've heard and seen at our board work sessions. Director Rabb has talked a little bit about that as well, but it's integrated with our actual curriculum that they're in year 2 of implementing. So they're able to talk and think about how do we modify or use what we have in a way that maximizes student voice, that gets them really in deeper conversation, building conceptual thinking. So we're continuing that professional development, and they're very appreciative of your investment in that. And I know Director Rabb in May will have some recommendations for further adoptions for your consideration. Next week, we're going to be together. You have a full day, 8 o'clock start on Thursday. And part of what we're going to do is find strengths. So thinking about your strategic plan, you're actually next year is year 3. So you're coming up in the near end. So what is really working? What are the strengths? What have you heard and seen that you want to recognize and celebrate? What are emerging priorities? Maybe there's some of the same, maybe there's some of the new. So we're going to engage you in reflection. We'll remind you and take a look at next year's calendar, what we did this year, what our proposal is for next year. We'll dive right away into norms, operating agreements. You'll have some bond conversation. You'll dig into self-assessment. So you got about a week left to think about, all right, what's been really working? What are you excited about? What is it in those goals that you think is some of the right tools for success for our system? And then we'll talk about, all right, what's working and what can we do to improve? Lastly, you'll see a recommendation for next year in work policy. They try to bring that to you a year ahead of time, but you probably forgot about this because you saw it early this year. fifth grade's going to camp, so we have overnight camp coming up next month. So by the time we meet again, I'm sure we'll have some camp stories. That's Boarding Elementary and Ptarmigan Ridge going to Camp Arnold. Not on the same days, they have some overlapping days, and we're excited for that outdoor experiential learning. And it's the first time that not that we've done it, but since we've returned from the pandemic, that we've had the overnight option. We've had a day trip, but first time coming back to overnight. Lastly, we want to just give a strong thank you to our local farmers, our community partners that help to support the FFA. There are some of the students. We had a record number of entries in terms of our hogs, including one that wasn't quite heavy enough. So if you or anyone you know wants to buy into a local market hog for a low price, Chloe's selling hers for a reasonable price point. But I just wanted to say thank you to our local farmers and donors. That goes a long way to helping these kids, and they just are beaming with pride. You can see everyone. In fact, one's taking a nap on her pig, which is, I thought, a good photo. But it was a lot of fun seeing them at Spring Fair, and within the last week, they've been at both elementaries doing some of their farm-to-table presentations, working with our elementary students, which we just love. And that will be coming up on social media within the next week or so. Brittany grab some photos. So I think that wraps up. It's just some sound bites from the last month, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have to tell you, fifth graders, you can attest this, I'm very excited. I've been hearing about it for a while. I shared the thing about the Puyallup tribe and the agreement. I reshared it on Facebook, and I have friends and family that live all over the country, and people were very impressed. They were very impressed. Especially they said, you know, at this point in time, to be making sure that we are honoring that group, that they were very impressed. So got lots of comments from a lot of people for that. So
Thank you.
share the kudos for that.
Very good. Any additional comments or questions? Lots going on.
Always a lot going on.
All right. First item on our reports tonight is always our student representative report. So who's going first?
I'm going first. It's been a while. It's been a while. And our notes that we're bringing to the board today is from March, when we went to go visit OMS. So it's been a while. We went to go visit Mr. Scape's BIPOC Club and really kind of emphasize those voices. And there was a few issues that got brought to our attention. So, for starters, there are apparently slurs and other like derogatory writings written in bathrooms, like on the stall doors, or like papers, and they're just like thrown around. I remember that a lot in middle school. I remember it was pretty bad in middle school. And it's become like a sort of normalization where it's like you can't really get every single student in trouble because of how much it happens. Like, well, they'll get in trouble, but it's like not severe enough where it stops the problem. So it's like normalization of slurs being said in school, shown in school environments. It's like less strict. It's kind of just, hey, don't do that, and then move on. And then also what I've realized is once moving to the high school level, a lot of racism and other like discrimination is kind of less obvious. It's not like it is in middle school where they're just throwing slurs and like words at you. But like, I don't know what a good example is, but just once you move up, it's like less, less obvious. But still an issue that I feel doesn't get a lot of recognition. I feel like when you think of issues within your school, you're not, oh, everyone's racist because it's not super blatant on your face. But it still affects a lot of students that I realize.
Did they talk about like what they'd like to see done? Did they offer like it would help me if this happened. Do they offer any?
It was more just like discipline, like more, I wish students like got actually in trouble for what they did.
Okay.
It was more like,
More accountability.
yeah, more accountability. And then a second issue, a second issue is just a little bit like, it's just more paper towels. But it leads into something else as well. It's issues like little issues that we don't really recognize, but a student mentioned that she has autism and she has sensory issues from like her wet hands, and when she doesn't have anything to dry her hands with, it really like it's hard for her. It's a lot harder for her, and so it's like it's those things that you don't really think about as like more paper towels are really affecting people like that, and so those type of things. Yeah.
All right, switching gears. A lot of stuff you guys covered about like the Arrive Alive and all the field trips that have been happening this week. So I don't really have much here besides spring sports are starting to come to an end pretty soon. I know soccer is next week. It's going to be their last game. May 1st. It's also their senior night. And tonight we have lacrosse's senior night against Peninsula. So I'm definitely going to go to that after this. And then tomorrow night we have baseball, softball, and soccer. So we have a lot of sports and that's all I got.
It's going fast. Is it going fast for you, Jaden?
I actually quit soccer, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of slow. Yeah.
Is school going fast?
Yes, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
The
you know, it's
end of school, speeding towards the end.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to bring up, I was going to bring it up earlier when we were talking about the field trips, but today actually I went on a field trip to the Showware Center in Kent and for career fair, and Ms. Fry has been making sure that we make it to like every career and college fair that is in the area, and I always opt to go to every single one of them. And it was such a cool experience. Like I think one, they have lanyards that have like Ording School District on them, and they gave it to us for free, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I got to make my own metal tin box. Like they gave us like the steel like sheets of paper, or not paper, the steel, yeah. And then we like had the equipment and gloves, and we like hammered and put together a box, which is super cool. I got to lay bricks, which was really cool. And like, so it was just like, I think it's such a cool opportunity to just like experience all those things. Because I wouldn't think I would be interested in like laying bricks, but like now that I've tried it, it's like, that is like so fun. So yeah, that's one.
It's fun to get dirty.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I know somebody who's in that field and it is a lost art. There are no people coming up to want to do that work, and so it's going to be a real struggle for real brick work and facilities and any of that. So it's cool that you got to experience that.
Did a lot of kids go?
Yeah, we had filled up 2 buses.
Good.
Wow.
That's great.
Cool.
Very
Oh, good.
There's another, just so you guys know, tell your friends, there's another career fair called Fairgrounds, May 17th and 18th. That's like construction trades, and you actually get to like get the equipment, dig some dirt, move it around, and there's stuff for little kids and there's stuff for adults, which you guys are adults. So it's another opportunity to explore the trades at a career fair, you know, like anybody. That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you got to go do that.
I know the trades are struggling to get people in, so it's good that they're doing this and that students are going and getting excited to be there.
I wanted to piggyback on something that Carrie had heard, but Mr. Collins told us at the bond task force meeting that there are 10 CT volleyball teams at the middle school. That's how many kids, and when you go up there for sports, there's no parking. It is just, there are so many kids going out for all kinds of activities and sports around the district. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Before we go on, thank you for bringing those issues to our attention for the students. I think it's important. Are you going to get an opportunity to visit with other students again before the end of the year, or is that kind of winding down? Yeah, and we still have another meeting before the end of the year. So I'd love any additional feedback or anything you learned from the students that want to bring forward. Bringing their voice forward is really important to us and a priority for the board. So I should encourage you to continue to do that.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, just so, that wasn't a pleasant conversation or a really nice update to give, but I applaud you for bringing it.
That's a
It's really important that we hear that stuff. We're not out there with the kids, us on the board, so we might have some grandchildren or children still in school, but there's so much that we miss, and even if it's not sounding like a flower, we really do appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Financial report. So there's a bus on order.
Oh,
That's good.
I saw that.
where will we park it?
That's good.
It's a different problem.
Right. One spot that one next to the portable.
That's, that one you got.
I didn't see any questions on that?
No.
Thank you. And then next, we have a report from Director Christensen about sexual harassment. We prohibited it. I didn't see any questions. All good? All right. Thank you, Debbie. And the next item is presented by Director Roush.
So the Washington School Improvement Framework, we've been talking about now for a couple of years. It's been a little bit confusing to track it because it started with the identification 2017-18, which was supposed to be a 3-year identification. Then COVID got in the middle of that, turned it into a 5-year identification. Then the next cycle started in 22-23. And it was, instead of a 3-year cycle, it was a 2-year cycle. Then the third cycle started in 23-24, which actually overlapped with cycle 2. So when I go in and I try to find out what identification is where and stuff like that, it gets a little bit muddy for me. It can be a little bit confusing. I've set this, you've seen this information in terms of how the identification is made. They have the different components of the assessment portion, high school graduation, ELA math achievement, ELA math growth. All the schools score in all of those things, and then they take the entire state scores and they divide them into 10 categories. So they determine what those categories are, so that there's 10 deciles across the entire state, and then our schools fall in within one of those based on their score. They get a 1 through 10 score in each of those different categories as it pertains to them. And then a composite score is what determines whether or not students are in need for identification. And you can kind of see with this slide here, these are the grade levels with which these indicators happen. So they don't happen across all grade levels, obviously. High school graduation would be, and 9th grade on track, and dual credit would be high school only. Attendance is all grade levels. English language progress is all grade levels. ELA and math, 3rd grade through 8th grade, and then again in 10th grade. And then growth, 4th grade stops at 8th grade. The reason for that, growth is determined by 2 years of testing. So kids in the 3rd grade the test score that they get in the 3rd grade, it puts them into a cohort. And then the test score that they get in the 4th grade is compared to their previous cohort test score. And if they were higher than that cohort, then they made growth. If they were lower, then they didn't make growth. So that's the first time we see student growth is in the 4th grade because it's the 2-year piece. We don't see it in high school because there's only one testing year. So the last year we see student growth is in the 8th grade. And then dual credit, again, is just high school only. This actually gives you the breakdown as to which of the indicators, what percentage of their composite score makes up that, because we fit into this. There's a whole list of categories of small schools and variety of things. But this is the one that applies to the Orting School District. So what I did was I presented for you an update for each of the schools. This is Orting Elementary School. Now what's interesting with Orting Elementary School when we get to this slide is they don't have any marks for low income or student with disabilities or whatnot like that. And I anticipate that as grades have been changing, that this next year you'll literally see measurements in all of those categories because now they have all the grade levels in there. But they're above the threshold, the all schools threshold, and so they are labeled as foundational support, which means all's good, keep doing that. And then Ptarmigan Ridge, as you know, has been in a couple of levels of support. Their Cycle 2 level of support was a compound level of support, only one area. It was English language learners, so it was one group, but it was in a compound support because they were below the all schools threshold as well as the Title I threshold. And so they managed to get themselves out of that within the next cycle, Cycle 3, but then they were identified for students with disabilities. You can see the line there that they're just based on just 2014, they're right on the cusp. So they've made growth in that area. We did see a drop in low income, so they're below. Both things are above the Title I threshold, but they're below the all schools threshold. But they're, what is that, 0.12 or something. I mean, they're very, very close to bridging the gap. So they moved from a compound situation where they had to submit a school improvement plan, and we had a coach that met with us and whatnot, and that moves them into support Tier 1, which means it becomes our school district's responsibility to monitor and support them. And that continues to be the case for them. You can kind of see, I've kind of boxed in the 3-year trajectory of what's happening in both of those areas. So you can see that with low income, they just had kind of a dip from one year to the next. A little bit of a dip with students with disabilities, but again, even that threshold for that year dropped down a little bit, so they even got closer to the threshold. Orting Middle School was the other school that has been in support for 2 cycles. They started out in support in 3 areas, Black African American, student with disabilities, and low income. Students with disabilities, English language learners, and Black African American students. They have evolved out of that, and they are above both Title and all schools threshold in English language learners, along with students with disabilities, made pretty good growth in that area. And they also made growth in Black African American students, but above the Title threshold, just below the all schools threshold, and I think that indicator is like 0.15. So that's where they sit in that situation. And then you can kind of see what I boxed for particularly Black African American students, because even though they're still in identification, wanted you to be able to see that they're really making growth in that area as well. Orting High School has always kind of been something we've been really proud of, the work that Orting High School has done. When you get out of the orange colors and you get into the blue colors, that's really something to celebrate. They've actually done some pretty good work in that area, and you can see that they are above the all schools threshold as well as the Title. They're not a Title school, but they're above both thresholds by quite a distance, and so they're really in great shape.
Steve, why are some of the, why is there not an Asian score or a Black African American score for the high school?
I can find that out.
There's generally, if you don't have enough data, they sequester the data so that students potentially won't be identified. So you need a certain
You have to have
insight
a minimum of
threshold.
20 students to be able to be identified for the, thank you, Dan. for
That makes sense.
So they'll sequester, which is why you see variance by grade level sometimes.
But we have a lot of English language learners.
Yeah,
And I
it's a
would think we
system.
haven't enough Black African American and even Asian ones, so I'm curious about that. If you don't mind letting me know, that'd be great.
Oh, sorry, remember when we were hearing about, what was it, Ukrainian and Russian?
Yeah.
Now the most
Yeah,
common, sorry.
yeah, I'm just curious why that data is absolutely so missed.
Yeah, this is pulled off of OSPI's website, so that's what they're presenting, but I have to look into it to see, I think what Ed talks about is the low numbers, but
Either they're mixed in 2 or more races because the identification is funky, or it's sequestered probably.
Okay.
Would be the 2.
That would make sense.
Those are the only 2 reasons why you don't see the data. Either you haven't met the N size requirement and they sequester it, or it shows up in other demographics.
Board additional questions? I did want to send one this afternoon to Steve, just an informative question, just curious on timelines for improvement and that kind of thing. So this is something we look at every year,
Yeah.
so we'll continue to monitor it.
we're pretty optimistic with careful conservative optimism. As you all have seen in your school board presentations, there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of really, really good work. We're very excited about the work that the schools are doing. When they articulate the work that they're doing, you can tell that it's real work, that they really understand and that they're leaning into. We would love to see a pop this spring based on all the work that we've done around, not just in the core instruction areas, but in the intervention cycles. Dr. Lee and Dr. Westover have done a lot of work already this spring in establishing a really solid framework for systemizing that for next year. And we will be spending about a half a day with principals and assistant principals before summer break to lay out that framework for them, because here's what we know about those guys. They think about it all summer. And they come in and their guns are loaded and they've already got a lot of plans made. And so we really want to give them a lot of stuff to think about and plan for it. And as Ed has said, with the core collaborative work that we're doing, Dr. Lee and Dr. Westover are really going to take charge of that next year and lean into that. And it's just going to get better. I'll watch it from a distance because it'll be there's sowing and then there's harvesting, right? So I won't be standing here in front of you at the harvest, but the harvest is coming.
I was just looking, I was wondering, so on the Hispanic, as far as EL, the difference between math and ELA, I know that we have teachers that work with the students on ELA separately. Do we do that with math too? Like we have like second language teachers for Hispanic, for reading and writing?
Only through the intervention cycle, so they would get additional support beyond core instruction, but it would be with the NTSS support as well as LAP support based in their, like one of the things that Principal Collins did between, yes, he's done for the last couple of weeks, is he made kind of a dictate to his school and said, during our Falcon time, we're going to lean in and we're going to support math intervention. Everybody's going to do it. Big bold move on his part. Had a few questions that came his way, but kudos to him for making that decision as an instructional leader and moving it forward. So it can be very specific or it can be more generalized like that.
Okay. Just curious. So a lot of vocabulary now, I was curious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We're going to miss your reports.
Thanks.
not whispering because I know we're on camera, one of the things we're interested about
Sorry.
is really the dichotomy of the transition to two K-5 elementaries. If you recall, we were seeing kind of a dip at fourth grade in discipline and achievement data. And you see Ording Elementary's data this year from last year, first time with fourth grade. We're really curious now that fifth graders have been split and they don't have all 225 at once and every teacher trying to collaborate at the same time. We're curious to see what some of those systemic shifts have done. Also, you have new interventions in place, you have new diagnostic tools, data analysis, new protocols for analyzing data, and new curriculum. I don't know that we'll be able to sort what's making what kind of difference because we have done a ton. And I'll keep in mind, Dr. Westover introduced the idea that we haven't had an articulated curriculum for our highest needs special education students before. And that is new this year. So there's a lot in motion and it takes a little bit to figure out how to do all these things. But I am definitely, after you listen to each of our 4 schools, I have no doubt we're doing the right work because your own students are sitting there telling you, I am growing, and here's how I know they're tracking and monitoring their own progress. So what's really going to feed what, I'm not sure, but I am definitely convinced that we're doing the right work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think my muttering to explain was, I think, at least for me, I am looking at this information carefully, and we've made significant investments to improve these numbers. So I'm looking for the year-over-year progress. And while OSPI doesn't necessarily give us complete data for every student group, I'm still interested in it. So that was, as I was muttering to Ed, that's like there's gaps. There's information
Yes.
here that I'd like to see that I can't, and so I'd like to.
Keep in mind the framework, and Dr. Lee has worked to put all of our data transparently online. He'll show you, remember last year you asked at the work session, you want to see that and be visible to the community. This is the smushing of your grade level data and not disaggregated, but this same data set is disaggregated by grade level. So when he shares SBA data every year with you, he shares the disaggregation. What does it look like by grade level? For this report, they kind of average everything. So you don't know how third and fourth grade or what's leading to what, but that data, much of where it exists is available online. We have had to work to make that transparent to our local community as well, so it is on our website, in addition to OSPI, and they'll share some of the data with you next week.
Perfect, thank you.
Part of that is not new data, but a reminder of data that we've seen, just to clarify.
Perfect, thank you. All right, next item is second reading of policy considerations. We've got a few being retired. Didn't hear any further discussion on these. I believe they are ready. And if someone would please put forward a motion.
Move to approve the second reading of policy considerations.
Thank you, second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And next item up is our consent agenda. There are 7 items in this. And if everything's golden, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve items 1 through 7 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And then there was camp.
That's
All right, super excited for the kids to be able to have that experience. Thank you. Thank you again. Our PTA had a big part in that, so. So there is a board memo with the intent to participate. And if everything's good, I read through it, I'm good. So take a motion.
I move to approve the 5th grade outdoor education plans for the spring of 2026 as presented.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight.
Yes, just so happens this time.
So this evening, we have our annual Washington Interscholastic Activities Association Board Representative Selection. So we have two motions. One is for the resolution, and one is to approve one of our directors to be our WIAA Board Representative. And so I will open the floor for any nominations for Board Representative.
If anyone has an interest in it, I mean, seriously, I could do it, but if anybody else would like to.
I think you do a great job.
Oh, I have, actually, when we were at our conference, I learned a little bit more. I went to their breakout, and it was interesting, and I realized that there's some things that we do, so. Yeah, so I liked it.
Okay, good.
Well, then I move to approve Director Joanne Tracy as the 2025-26 WIAA Board Member Representative.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. In all seriousness, Joanne, we do appreciate you for this role. You have a passion for athletics throughout our district and a long history of being involved with them, whether it was kids or grandkids, and so I think you bring important insight and the WIAA benefits from having you as their representative, so thank you. Thank you very much. The next is our resolution for the WIAA, so I will take another motion for that.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2.2024-2025, Washington Interscholastic Activities Association.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. And one of my favorite action items is our surplus list. Yep, Meeting House. I'm a book hoarder, so this one was going to be for me to look at. But I understand it's important, so we can't hold on to everything forever. We don't have room. Right, we need that space for learning. So I will take a motion.
Motion to approve the surplus request as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. This next action item is presented by Dr. Christensen.
Good evening. I don't have a lot to share this evening other than to ask for you to consider the approval of a motion to be able to allow Human Resources to issue annual contracts to our certificated and our administrators that work in the district to fulfill our staffing plan for the upcoming year.
Does anybody have any reason to hesitate about that? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the offering of the 2025-26 school year contracts to all administrators and certificated personnel who are covered by the continuing employment contract law.
Seconded?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
I did say that with a smile. I am very grateful that we have the ability to afford to approve these contracts.
Yes.
Other districts do not always do that. So I thank you for managing our business in a way that we do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. And next item for you.
This evening, I presented to you a memo which describes 11 employees that are current employees who teach teach in our career and technical education classes. They have full-time contracts, but a portion of the job is in CTE at the request of our administrators as they build the master plan, the master schedule. And we would like to continue that, and each time that we need to renew their certificate, we ask that you approve that so that when we enter into the OSPI website, we can authentically answer that you have given the approval for us to move forward with those certificates. So,
Do we still help them either monetarily or making it accessible to take the classes for the CTE credit?
these, good question. These particular certificates are conditional, and so they're, because they meet our need, they do not have to take any classes for this.
Okay.
Unlike those who we hire, for example, a culinary teacher that comes from background of industry that may have to need an interview. So, and we do all that internally.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the request for issuance of secondary CTE conditional certificate renewals by OSPI for the 2025-26 school year.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right, I will open the floor for board comments.
I don't have a lot of comments tonight in my
But I will say I'm looking forward to next week, to sit with the board and hear some things. We have made traction on social media over what some perceive as some negative, moving a portables into our parking lot. Just a reminder to anybody who happens to be listening that those conversations and those actions are not done. That does not mean, just because we're talking about them, that any of us that sit here and think with heavy hearts and heavy minds that it's going to be easy is an understatement. Everybody's going through something, but these are conversations that we need to have.
And I would just like to thank Marcy, because sometimes I might refer people to her and say, call Marcy and you'll find out who's in the city. So thank you for being available.
If they ever call.
Probably not, but at least I tell it.
059 commenters to call.
Yes.
Did.
I very much wish that people, instead of warrioring out there in social media land, would actually become more informed than just listening to potential rhetoric. It's frustrating.
I had a comment written down tonight regarding the portables, and I wanted to thank the community for their understanding as solutions are implemented for good boarding space. And I also wanted to invite, interestingly, the online community, there were a lot of new names in the conversation expressing shock and wonder about the portables, and I would just like to invite all those people and anyone who's interested in knowing what's happening with our facilities and our district to follow the Oregon School District on social media to get the facts and updates about what's happening. So there's a source of truth. Follow the Oregon School District to find out what's up, and then feel free to ask questions and have conversations. It's actually good that the community is talking about the district. We're the largest employer in the community. We support the largest number of schools compared to any, or the largest number of students and families compared to any other organization. So we want people to engage and have conversations with us. We just want them to have the information that's truth, in fact. So, anything else for comments?
I just wanted to say thank you to the bond task force that is meeting. They came to the table to look at our schools and do the that they're putting the time and effort in to look at this, and that they're gonna bring ideas, and we appreciate that, and like I say, thank you to them, stepping up.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was my last ask of the board tonight, is to approach our meeting on Thursday with a very open mind and fresh perspective. The task force involved a number of people who haven't been a part of this conversation previously, and so they brought forward different ideas and different viewpoints. And thank you to Kathy for dedicating the time to be a part of that. Felt like a lot of meetings for a while. But yeah, we're anxious for you to hear their thoughts and their ideas as we look forward. So we've been through this a few times as a whole board together, and there's some new thoughts on the table. So that's it.
And just the fact that we invited everyone to volunteer, and they did, so that was it. And so it's so nice to just get people that we might not know, but have an interest in the school this week and volunteered for the positions on the task force. So that was great.
And they've been really involved.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a lot of good questions.
And we have a real diverse mix of people, so parents, community members, a variety of different backgrounds. So it's a good group. All right. With that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:12.
Jamaican Cross.